We are going to turn it over now to Andrea Sumi. She has some exciting, an exciting announcement.
Hey, everybody. So we are happy to say that our joint effort between MLA and the Missouri Intellectual Freedom Helpline is now live. So we're working on getting the MASL site. MLA is doing the same on their end. We're transitioning from each individual um, provide support separately to librarians across the state to a joint. We're excited to say that it's officially live today. We did want to provide a link to the request for support form. And that again will be posted on both those websites. It'll be coming out in all the different ways that MASL and MLA communicate. So this slide here kind of gets you that information. You can see that we'll provide the confidential support resources. We'll also support or report to ALA and get support from ALA if needed from their Office of Intellectual Freedom to support Missouri librarians. And then at Spring Conference, MASL and MLA's conferences and also some specialized training, you'll continue to see more and more come out about that. So we're hopeful to have a poster session at Spring Conference, as well as an actual session that the MASL Intellectual Freedom Committee will put on. And at that point, that team will also share more specifically about the helpline. So we're excited to say that this team of very passionate librarians from both MASL and MLA have been working really hard over the last few months to get this helpline live as soon as possible. So here we are. Today's the day. So that's what we've got.
And Andrea, thank you so much for helping lead the team. You and Casey have done phenomenal work. And it's a nice collaboration effort between both Missouri Library Association and our organization. So I think I'm very excited to see what the future holds because I think we're trying to build that collaboration piece more and more. So I do appreciate that. Thank you, Andrea. If you have questions, please drop them in the chat. And now we're turning it over to advocacy chairs, Rebecca Parker and Sarah Colbert.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rebecca Markham Parker, I'm the chair of advocacy, that we work as a team. And we do some really important, fun work that you are already qualified to do. So we have a couple of asks for you tonight. So what we're doing is we build a network of library supporters. We work with DESE, we work with parent groups, and Missouri school librarians to make sure that we bring everybody together in the best interests of students so that school libraries serve them well.
And then,
So you are already an advocate. You advocate for your library every day. You talk about the amazing things that happen in your school library. You talk to administrators, students, parents, and other stakeholders. And everything you do to put books in students' hands makes you an advocate. You're already qualified to do what we would like for you to consider. So, what is Advocacy Day? Advocacy Day is February 4th this year. Um, it is a day when people who are working in the best interest of school and other libraries across the state get together. We meet in the morning. We talk about the issues before us and what's happening with the legislature. And then we have lunch and we talk to legislators. We always talk to them in a team of two, so you do not talk to anyone alone. And we're working on building relationships with legislators so that they talk to us about their concerns and their needs and what they're hearing. It's been really rewarding. a legislator that I thought maybe wouldn't be so willing to hear my message. The second year I spoke to him, he was asking my opinion on things so that he knew how to educate the people in his district about what happens in libraries. So it's really building a trust relationship with somebody else who's concerned about students and schools as well. So on Advocacy Day, as I mentioned, it's February 4th. We have the schedule of events showing. You'll come and check in. It's in Jefferson City. We meet at the Missouri Secretary of State's building. We have an information session so that you're well prepared to talk to legislators. Then we have lunch. And because it's easier to do everything on foot, there's not a lot of parking around the Capitol. We usually park at the Missouri State Library, Missouri Secretary of State's building. We're having lunch nearby that will be provided for you, and it's a buffet, so we won't have to wait for food to come or anything like that. And we'll have more opportunities to talk then. And then in the afternoon, in pairs or groups of three, Jill will, with C2C, we will build a schedule for us. And as I mentioned before, we'll go together in pairs. So you never have to talk to a legislator alone. Um, there's always someone there to work with you to talk to that legislator. And it's a really rewarding experience. It's good to hear what they're thinking, and they really appreciate hearing what we're thinking.
And before we introduce Cody, two other things I'd like to add. Number one is that MASL is looking at a stipend. So if you are going to attend, there will be a stipend to help maybe cover the cost of your gas and getting there. So please don't let that prevent you from coming. And then also when you register, MLA also has a link to register, but we're asking you to use the MASL link instead, because that way Jill will be able to share that information with MLA directly, but it also helps Jill when she's making a schedule.
And you can sign up right now. We would love to have you join us. So please consider spending the day with us in Jefferson City. And thank you very much for considering this. I'd love to hear from you or anybody on the Legislative Advocacy Committee would love to answer your questions and talk to you. And remember, you're already an advocate. So come and do what you're already an expert at. Thank you.
So Cody, I met for the first time, believe it or not, last year at Advocacy Day. So this will be only my second time ever attending Advocacy Day. So if you have not ever attended, please don't hesitate to attend because it's so well worth it. So Cody, thank you so much for taking your time today.
There we are. Sorry, I thought I've got a touch screen here, and I thought I'd be able to, just tap it, and it was not accepting that. So, anyways, thank you so much for having me, Matt and Rebecca. I really appreciate you all taking time and talking with your members on some really important things that a lot of folks are definitely intimidated by, but it really is just comes down to having a conversation. And I really appreciate that you're doing the buddy system and making sure you've got someone there who's always going to be with another person, because these can be intimidating conversations, but at the end of the day, there are legislators and they're there to serve our communities just as we are there to serve the same communities as well. And it really is about serving communities. It's not about the library itself, or whatever might be the big thing of the day. It's really about how are we best serving our communities, and the way we do that is by providing our library services or our school library services. And just as Rebecca was saying, you all, everything you do makes you an expert to talk about how you provide those services, and especially about the impacts that those services make in the lives of your students every day. Um, and so I'll give just kind of a brief overview of Library Advocacy Day. Or actually, Rebecca already gave that overview. Did a fantastic job. So I'm happy to answer any specific questions you might have. But I can talk a little bit about what the legislative process has been so far. So you've got a little bit of context of what led us up to today, and then probably where we'll be at when we get to Advocacy Day as well. So December is usually when we start paying attention to movement on the legislative end, because that's when they start allowing pre-files to happen. And we had about 1,300 bills pre-filed, which is a significant amount. It's a little less than last year, but pretty close to the same amount. And so what that means is there's a lot of folks putting ideas out as far as how to improve the state laws for our Missouri communities. And there are quite a few that deal with libraries, public libraries, school libraries as well. There's different laws that deal with, taxes as well, which I'm sure would affect quite a few of you, because schools are property tax funded as well, just like public libraries are throughout the state. I apologize. When I speak, it'll probably be more towards public libraries, because that's my background is public libraries. Not that I don't pay attention to what's going on for our friends in school libraries, but that tends to be where my language is at home. So if I'm talking about something, please feel free to ask a question. So we've had 1,300 bills pre-filed. The session started last Wednesday on January 8th. All of our legislators were sworn in. And then a lot of the bills had a first reading and a second reading, and that's kind of where they're at right at the moment for all of the bills that have been filed. The next step is generally going to be that they'll be assigned to committees if they get assigned, and the committees can then choose to pick them up by entertaining or having something that's called a public hearing, where people who want to provide testimony either for it, against it, or just to provide information on a specific bill, that can happen, but it's not guaranteed to happen. And it's not guaranteed that all 1,300 of these bills will pass or move through the system. In fact, a great small number of them will actually move forward. And by the time we get to Library Advocacy Day, that's typically when conversations have started to happen around creating the state budget. Now, the one thing that or I think they're actually responsible for two things. The thing I pay attention to most is the budget. The state legislature is responsible for creating the state budget every year and getting that passed. They have to do it. Otherwise, the state can't operate and they can't expend funds. And so those conversations happen early throughout the year, and that's where a majority of the work is for the legislature. And so by the time we hit that first week of February, is a really good time to start having our conversations on why it's important to have funding for libraries, funding for schools, so that way they're not thinking us all as an afterthought and thinking, oh, well, we need to balance the budget. Maybe we just remove some funding here or there. Having these conversations early makes sure we're all at the forefront of their minds when they're trying to have those conversations on how they balance the budget. And this year is probably going to be one of the years that they will have to really start considering that, because funding has, we've received quite a bit of funding in the past years recently. This is going to be one of the first years where it doesn't seem like that would be the case for that trend to continue. What that picture looks like exactly, I don't have any specifics on it for you, but I'm sure that our MLA's lobbyist will be providing a lot of detailed information that morning on Advocacy Day. He'll be there. He's the one who I work with very closely to learn about what's going on with the Capitol and with all the legislation that is moving or not moving. We'll also hear from our acting state librarian, Janet Carruthers, on Advocacy Day. And I believe we'll also be hearing from, he should now be sworn in, so Secretary Hoskins, Secretary of State Denny Hoskins as well on that day. We do have a very short time window. I believe the schedule was up there. Typically, we have doors open 9:30 to 10, which will be the same, and then we usually run 10 to like 11:30 or noon. And then we used to provide lunch. However, we really are trying to make this accessible for as many librarians throughout the state of Missouri. So in order to reduce the registration cost to zero, we are no longer providing lunch, which is why you all are going and getting lunch off-site, which it's fantastic that MASL is able to provide that. That's wonderful. And so I was happy to hear that you all are working with C2C and that Jill's going to get us the numbers, because I just want to make sure that we've got an accurate number of seats at the state library for everyone who gets registered too. So yes, please use the MASL link to get registered, and ask your amazing leaders here if you have questions for them. But they've also got my email up there, and I'm always happy to get emails from librarians throughout the state on anything that they might have concerns on. The thing I would say at this moment in time, with all of the bills that have been filed, there are about 8 that I'm personally tracking. Our lobbyist Randy might have earmarked a few others, or there could have been a few filed since I've last taken a look at them. If you do happen to go and look at them now, or you hear of something that sounds really concerning, at this moment in time, I would urge you to be optimistic, because we don't know what's going to move just yet. And so we don't know if there is an appetite for anything that has to do with any libraries to move forward. There are some bills that we do want to move forward. There's one that specifically affects consolidated public libraries, that allows them to pick a fiscal year that's different than the one that's written in statute right now. That would be fantastic if that one could pass, because it gives them the option to be able to be a little more flexible with their fiscal years for whatever worked better for that district. But there are some other things that have been filed as well. And I also know that, and I don't know if you want me to reveal this or not, but HB 116 by Jim Murphy was pre-filed as well. That is the media literacy bill. And I know MASL's been working on that one and having a lot of conversations as well. So are there any questions, or Rebecca or Matt, is there anything that I didn't address that you'd like me to address?
No, I do appreciate you taking time today to come and talk to us. And I will say that the advocacy team is working on a advocacy newsletter. Once a month, they'll be getting that out. Rebecca and Sarah worked on this today, and we got email, so we'll get that out and get it ready to go. But I do appreciate that, and it's nice, Cody, now that C2C is both of our groups, our thing. So it makes it much easier to have these conversations, right? So Hope said in the message, everybody, good news. HB 116 has already had a second reading, so that happened on the 9th.
Matt, I had a really good question from someone, and that was, do you have to take a PTO day in order to come? A lot of districts require that you do that. My district is pretty liberal, and they count it as a workshop day, so they actually pay me. And depending on the weather in your district, you might feel that out and find out what the situation would be for you.
So, hi, I'm Sarah Colbert. I'm the vice chair of the committee. Once you have signed up to attend, we are going to be having an information session. It's just Zoom on January 30th, 2025 from 7 to 8. You are not required to attend this Zoom session if you're unable to and you still want to go to Advocacy Day. We're just going to be talking a little bit more about our platform. We're going to be talking a little bit more about what Advocacy Day is going to look like. Just kind of a quick information session, so to make you feel as comfortable as possible when it comes to this, because I know it can be really intimidating talking to your elected officials, especially if you maybe have elected officials that might not be as supportive as you would like them to be. But we really do try to do everything that we can to set you up to have a successful meeting with these people. And remember, a lot of times they're very busy. They'll have people in and out of their offices all day. A lot of times these meetings are not super lengthy. So if anything, no, take comfort in the fact that you may only have to talk to them for 2 minutes. And if you can't go to Advocacy Day, maybe you're too far away, maybe you can't get a day off. There are some other things that you can do. If you have 5 minutes, you can send an email to the decision makers in your district or to your elected officials. If you have 15 minutes, you can actually, there's like an online portal where you can submit written testimony about upcoming legislation. So this would be a really great place to talk about to go and submit written testimony for HB 116, which is the media literacy bill that MASL is really championing this year. That bill would create a pilot program for media literacy curriculum in a number of schools. And we know that teaching media literacy is right in the wheelhouse of school librarians. And so we're hopeful that the passage of HB 116 can lead to some really great things for school librarians. If you have 30 minutes, you can write a letter to your elected officials, write a letter to the editor for the local paper. If you have an hour or more, plan to attend a school board meeting. That is a really great place for you to advocate about the amazing things that are happening in your school libraries.
Oh, Sarah, and I didn't catch this on the previous slide. I apologize. But our meeting will be Wednesday, January 29th from 7 to 8. So
That's my
that will be
bad,
the date
everybody.
of the meeting, if you're able to attend.
That's my bad. I'm terrible with dates. Um, and then I think on the next slide is just contact information for Rebecca and I. If you have any questions about Advocacy Day or about the work that we do as the Advocacy Committee, we would love to hear from you and we would love to answer any questions that you might have. And we're really excited about Advocacy Day and getting to talk to our elected officials, and we hope that you will join us.
Thank you so much for taking time out to attend the meeting tonight. Before we end, are there any questions for Rebecca or for Sarah? I would like to take a moment to personally thank both Rebecca and Sarah for all their hard work this year as advocacy leaders. I think it's important, the work that you do, and I love the fact that you're leading our organization in this effort.